Hi there, I'm here today with Vice Chair of the Public Service Commissioner Tim Eccles, who's one of 5 elected officials that serves on the regulatory oversight body, which is the PSC. And this body has control over decision making for regulatory entities like electric power, natural gas, and telecom.
Yeah, it has since 1879 when it was commissioned as the Railroad Commission. So think about anything that's in that right-of-way. Train tracks were there, then telegraph lines, gas lines, electric lines. So anything where someone has a territorial monopoly that they get the right to have that exclusive service, the founding fathers of Georgia felt like, well, the public needs to have some special input into that if we're going to grant that monopoly.
Excellent. And Georgia is one of a few states, many in the southeast and then a few in the rest of the country, where we use what we call a regulated utility model, which means that a commission oversees the work of utility, and in this case, a vertically integrated one that oversees generation, transmission, distribution, the full life cycle of the electricity delivery.
Yeah, that's right. And we've had that model working. Obviously, other areas in the country have changed from that model, Texas, California, New England. But this model has served our state well, and I think until it stops serving the state well, we'll keep the model. It's not impossible that we couldn't change it. Obviously, it would have to be changed from the legislature, and our commission really acts at the pleasure of the legislature in the sense that they provide our budget, they provide the constitutional authority that we have to operate.
So we know a lot of factors go into good decision making for electric power. Among these are affordability, reliability, safety, and the ability to continually reduce environmental impacts. So how do you manage all of these complicated objectives when we know some of the trade-offs are tough?
Yeah, certainly the power company, the utilities, all the utilities we regulate, they want to provide their services at as cheapest price as possible. So they are already motivated to do this. I think they want to make sure that they can comply with all of the federal regulations they have and state regulations. They're obviously going to want the money to comply with that. They're going to want to make a profit, and that's the way this particular system works. So we do balance the concerns of the consumer with the profitability of the company. We don't want the utility to be driving around in broken trucks and have dry rotted poles and not answer the phone until the 30th ring and run shoddy operations at their power plant. So we do want to give them the money that they need, but at the same time, we want to try to have a system that plans for the future, that hedges against any kind of rash increase of price of one particular fuel over another. And so some of it is guesswork, I have to say, but there's a lot of research and from other utilities, other areas. There are people that do economic forecasting. We do the best we can. I mean, for example, if we were trying to decide today whether to build a nuclear power plant, I don't think that we would do it. But 12 years ago when the commission decided, gas prices were double. And so that played a factor. So obviously what's going on out there in the market does impact decisions that we make today.
Right. Well, that's a great segue. We know planning and rate making are a huge part of what you guys are focused on doing well. So could you say a little bit about how you make sure that the matrix is diverse and yet that the costs are basically allocated appropriately? Well,
certainly there are consumer groups that exist out there, whether that's the Sierra Club or Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, AARP. There's many consumer groups. Even the Georgia Restaurant Association is a trade group that's intervening with our rates. And so if you're going to be impacted by something the utility's doing, you should be down here. You should be down here giving public comment, and we offer the public an opportunity. But groups that are effective really collaborate, pool their resources together for even a greater impact. And collaboration, I think, always enables acceleration of anything. So collaboration is a good thing. And so as these groups hire an attorney or hire an association to assist them or bring in expert witnesses, commissioners are hearing this, our staff, they're hearing this, even the utilities hearing this, and oftentimes plans are changed based on what we hear. And usually the final decision that we make is really nothing like what we start with.
Right, okay. Could you say something quickly about the, the dedicated push that, Georgia's making towards solar growth, and also how we square that with the nuclear plants that are the only ones in the country being constructed, right?
Yeah, Plant Vogtle and those Westinghouse AP1000 reactors are the only ones being constructed right now in the U.S., and that's unfortunate because I think when Westinghouse had signed up for all of this and marketed that reactor design, they thought they were going to get some economy of scale by having multiple states do this. And so when it came down to just Georgia and South Carolina doing it, initially it was a loss leader to get people to do this, and we had a very good contract with them, but when they realized, well, it's only Georgia, we're going to just bankrupt our company now, and Toshiba did bankrupt the LLC here in the U.S., it did put our state in a difficult place. But all the while, we had been adding solar since 2013, and we've essentially doubled it or tripled it every 3 years. So I think you're going to continue to see, at least for the next 3, maybe 6 years, continue to see a lot of solar. And if the battery revolution is as good as I think it's going to be, and it's not prime time yet, but we do have an opportunity, I think, to close some additional traditional coal plants with solar plus storage.
Right.
But you can't just do it with solar. You've got to have those batteries. And the question is, will batteries work the way that they're being described as and sold as? Are they going to hold up? Are there going to be issues related to heat and fires around that? Can we manage that?
Right.
So I think there's still research to be done. I'm hoping Georgia Tech and our other institutions can be integrally involved in testing this before we go big time with batteries in another 3 years.
Absolutely. And Georgia Tech is working on some of these areas in energy storage coupled with renewables, and trying to maximize not only the value economically, but also reduce the environmental impacts.
There is concern over environmental impact on any and all of the above. You think about the concerns around fracking with natural gas. You think about coal ash with coal and the pollutants that are there. You think about 20 million, 40 million, 60 million solar panels in Georgia. What happens at the end of their useful life? The landowner wants to clear the land. Will he or she landfill those? Will they strip the aluminum cladding off and then landfill the rest of them?
Yeah.
I don't want that stuff in the landfill. We need entrepreneurs to stand up recycling businesses that we can recycle. And what about lithium ion? Not really a good recycling model now. Obviously, institutions like Georgia Tech and MIT and others are thinking about the future of lithium ion. There's controversy even surrounding the mining of some of the materials that go in the batteries. So I think there's always some unintended things that happen with any type of energy.
Yeah. So Georgia's a little bit unique in that it has a nuclear reactor facility that has added capacity. And so could you talk about what that means for our state in terms of lower carbon emitting baseload, but also for kind of a signal to the country about the role of nuclear?
Certainly. We've had 2 different nuclear power plant sites in Georgia for quite a while. And Plant Vogtle, the one that's in the news the most, we initially constructed units 1 and 2 in 1987 and 1989. And these plants really have served the state flawlessly. No accidents. They've been just a fantastic carbon-free baseload resource. And with the addition of units 3 and 4 at 1,100 megawatts each, this is a great hedge, I believe, for the future. It could be that we do have a carbon tax one day in the U.S., and having these carbon-free resources provide Georgia with a way to have baseload power, an opportunity to close additional coal units, yet adding more solar, more storage. So I really think that the way forward for Georgia is nuclear energy plus solar, plus batteries. That's a great formula for the future.
So how about some suggestions for Georgians about how they can participate in good decision making and strategic plans for the future of our state?
I think the first thing our students need to know, and oftentimes I find college students are fairly cynical about government, politics, and things in Washington or at the state capitol. I think the first thing we've got to do is we've got to have civil conversations. We've got to develop relationships with officials. One of the things that Georgia Tech does really well is relating to legislators and the U.S. Congress. Georgia Tech has a federal relations department. You've got state relations. You know the value of relationships and getting people on campus, letting them see what you're doing, telling the story, right? So let's tell the story. Let's show people that what we're doing is important and that things that we care about should matter. And so I think that's one of the most important things. I've given most of my adult life to building a youth program in 45 states to help students, high school students, understand just that there's great value in building relationships with officials at all levels.
Right, excellent. And so in this series, we've made it no secret that my alma mater is Georgia Tech. It turns out that Commissioner Eccles has a couple of degrees from the University of Georgia.
That's right.
And so it's a great
three, actually.
It's a great segue to the question about how you work with folks that may have a little different opinion, a different approach, a different worldview or philosophy about what's right, but are equally interested in doing well for the state of Georgia. So we've done some work with UGA, Emory, and Georgia Tech on sort of the solar ordinance policy making and planning. What are some suggestions that you've learned through your career and for our citizens to work around some of these differences of opinion?
Yeah, while our sports teams may fight it out, I really think there's a lot of collegiality with those in the academic community. I think they value and respect others regardless of the institution. I think the greater disparity is with urban, metro Atlanta and the rest of Georgia, and the importance of racial reconciliation and reaching out to everyone, especially groups that don't have the resources. Maybe they live in a very poor county and they don't have access to health care and some of the other things that they really need. So I think as we get out of Atlanta, as we get to know our constituents, find out what they need, and begin looking for solutions, I think that's really the way that we ought to operate.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you. And if you're out there, even if you're not in Georgia, there's plenty of ways to get involved, both at the state level, the regional level, and looking forward to a brighter energy future.
And go Dogs.
Go Jackets.